Welcome to the Rock Solid Families podcast. I am Linda Hutchinson here along with my co-parenting partner, Merle. How are you, honey?
Co-parenting partner.
Well, I thought it would just set up the show for us.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. But this topic is a very important one. We've done it before, so you can go back in the archives and search co-parenting. But it's time. It's time to revisit it because we see these waves of clients and situations, and a lot of it has to do with blended families and divorce situations. And because we now work with the local court system where they are court ordered to come when things are contentious or difficult, maybe you're getting to see this because we've assigned it for homework.
Right.
Because we do even a monthly class with court ordered clients that, and they don't have to be court ordered, but a lot of them are there because they don't want to.
Yeah.
But because there's contentiousness between the two.
Yeah, we've talked before, like things come into our office, it seems like in waves, and we're not going to try to tell you why a wave comes, but it does seem to come, and right now we seem to be in a heavy wave of this stuff, and as you said, like our court-ordered cases, there's already a lot of brokenness there. That's why they're in the courts.
Yeah,
and
a lot of tension.
Yeah, and so a lot of hurt, and we're not blaming anybody there, and we'll never mention these cases by name unless we actually had that permission. But it's just the idea that if you're hearing this, and even if you are somebody we're working with, you're not alone.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a common struggle, but trying to get through it and get to a better place is I think in your best interest. If you're listening to this, it's definitely in your kids' best interest. So anyway, we're going to get into talking about the co-parenting, and a lot of what we're going to say today, hon, I think is when we start our parenting class on that one Saturday a month, which we'll put that in our announcements, one Saturday a month that we do that with the courts, we spend about an hour speaking about understanding your own emotions at the very beginning. Because if you don't understand your own emotions, you will allow your emotions to just run how you're parenting, how you're getting along with your ex, and you'll say, this is just how it is, and you don't realize that these are the emotional outbursts.
And you're reacting. We talk about the drama triangle, and you're reacting out of fear or anger or hurt or frustration, and so you've got to get a handle of where that's coming from. But we're going to talk about literally how can you deal with things when you can't get along with your ex, or that you and your ex can't work together in the co-parenting realm. So we are going to talk about that in today's show. But before we do, we want to thank our sponsors.
Let's do that. Let's thank Maxwell Construction, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and the Hoosier Ice House. So thanks to those guys who continue to come and stand behind us as sponsors. Also, we just want to continue to thank all of you for sharing our show, for giving us 5-star ratings. Hun, it is kind of interesting. When we first started asking for the 5-star ratings and stuff on Google reviews and that, you kind of feel like, this is a little strange asking for somebody to do that. But one of our questions is, when people come in, how did you hear about us? And the number of people will say, well, I just Googled you guys and I saw the 5-star ratings in the comments, and that's what brought us in. And so, again, we're not begging for you to do that. If it doesn't deserve a 5-star rating, then don't do it. But it does help other people see that the message is worthy and that they could be helped.
Well, I thought you were going to bring up the feedback we ask for at the end of every Families Rock class.
Right, yeah.
And the amazing, overwhelming, positive feedback we get from people who've been court-ordered, who didn't want to be there.
They don't want to be there when they walk in.
Yes, who felt like this was worth my time. This is really helpful. And it gave me nuggets of real truth that I can go back and take, and practical things that I can do. And so, again, our next one is Saturday, November 22nd, November 23rd. I had to look at the date, and I still got it wrong.
Thanksgiving? What's the date of Thanksgiving?
It's the next week.
The next week?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's the weekend before Thanksgiving. Yeah. But that is our last class of the year. But it is at the Lawrenceburg Firehouse. You can find more information about that by going to our website, rocksolidfamilies.org. Go under, I think, services, and you will see a Families Rock page there. So we really hope that if you hear something today that you want more information on, you'll either come to that class or connect with us online. We do this one-on-one with parents every day. I just came from it this morning with a blended family situation. And, this is what we do. And so we want to help you any way we can.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get into it, Hannah, a little bit. So we're talking about co-parenting. And I just want to start with Proverbs 22:6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And I wanted to put that in because what you are doing with your kids and what they are seeing right now is whether you realize it and whether they realize it consciously or subconsciously, it is building something in them, whether it's good or bad, like how you deal with struggles. We were having a talk with our daughter today about people who run from problems, or they're runners, right? And people who have just anger issues. And that is stuff that you very much probably came from early parts of their upbringing. So how you're getting along with your ex, how you as parents are pouring into your kids, it does matter.
Yeah. I heard this from a parenting expert recently, and it just really stuck with me. It's by, I think it's Jim Burns, who wrote Doing Life with Your Adult Children. And he really makes this point, because this is so prevalent in our culture today, is that when we don't agree with somebody or we have different philosophies, we literally look at that person and they're dead to us.
Right.
And we cut them out of our life. And he said this, he said, if that's what you show your kids, like let's say to your ex, right? Like your ex, you don't agree, you got divorced for a reason, and you cut them out of their life, or you badmouth them, or kind of show this really ugly side of your kids. When your kids get older, that's what they see is the response when conflict comes.
Right.
So if you are showing them that you cut people out of your life, when they get older, they cut you out of their life when you have conflict with them. So you want to model for them, how do you resolve conflict? How do you be the bigger person, the better person in a situation that is contentious or tension-filled and full of conflict? Like, you've got to show up and show them a healthy model, because if whatever you model to them, they're going to turn on you eventually. And that's what he's mentioning in this book, that adult children are cutting their parents out of their life when they disagree because they saw that from their parents.
Yeah.
So,
and
I thought that was interesting.
We're not trying to minimize the amount of hurt that happens in a marriage and then in a broken marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, just in a healthy marriage, there's that conflict where, you sometimes step on each other's toes. And so we're not trying to minimize the idea, because you get people that come in and make statements, and you can see it, even if they don't make a statement, you can see it in them. You don't really understand.
Yeah.
You haven't walked in my shoes.
You don't know my ex.
Yeah, and listen, like, we don't want to know your ex, right? Like, but the idea there is you have to understand how hurt people will hurt people.
Yep.
And that's, whether you intend it or not, your reaction may very well be, you may be trying to hurt your ex because they hurt you, right? But in the meantime, you're using your kids and you're hurting your kids. And, they don't even know they're being hurt, but they're not getting the tools maybe that they need to help them with conflict later in their own relationships.
Yeah. And so as you're hurting as the divorced spouse, a lot of times you will respond in a hurtful way.
Right.
Sometimes even using the kids as pawns or throwing the ex under the bus in front of the kids. And so we just want to kind of call that out right away and talk about the danger of using your kids to hurt your ex. Like, if your ex says they can't have a phone, then you go out and buy them a phone.
Right.
If you say, oh, you have to pay for a car, then you go out and buy them a car. And so we see that a lot, that manipulation, that using, or, by the way, maybe throwing your ex under the bus and kind of like outing all of their sins and not like sharing any of yours,
Yeah.
And so we kind of have learned that there's this controversy about this term that some people call this, and parent alienation is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, hon.
Well, so we and all the courts and all the attorneys are very familiar with the term parental alienation.
Yes.
Okay. But what you'll see when you actually try to protest that, like if you get accused of parental alienation, there's so much subjective matter in this that courts have a hard time actually pinpointing somebody down and saying, outside of locking a kid in the room and not letting them ever see, physically see them, there's this little miniature manipulation system that's going on. Well, your parent does it, or your mom does this,
Your dad
or whatever.
doesn't care about you.
And it's hard to say, is that actually this parental alienation? But let's be honest. When we're not talking good about our ex in front of our kids, and we know we're trying to plant seeds so that maybe they'll see my side, and that means they may have to push the other spouse away. And so, there are cases where we see, I've talked with our judge before, and he's actually used, I got parental alienation going on. But it is one of these sort of more theories. I have a theory that this is happening versus I can objectively prove it. And so, again, but that doesn't take away the idea that we have this problem.
Yeah. And so what do we see if that's the case? If you're alienating one parent from the other, you're literally stealing from them that bonding with both parents, because both parents bring something different. And you may not agree with what your spouse does or how he disciplines or how she responds. But the point is that you're creating emotional trauma for your child when they feel like they're caught in the middle. Okay. So you want to try, it's almost like I compare it to a tug of war rope. We got mom on one side and dad on the other, and he's in a different house and she's in a different house. And we're just pulling this rope back and forth. And the rope is the child.
Yeah.
And so what I'm asking you, mom or dad, is that you let go of the rope. Please do not put your child in the middle of your conflict with your ex.
And we'll see things where, the kid will get along reasonably well with both parents. And then all of a sudden, over a course of a month, 2 months, 3 months, all of a sudden they'll just kind of shut another parent down. And the one who's being shut down will be like,
what's going on?
What?
Yeah.
Like, we were just playing board games a month ago,
yeah.
and now you won't even talk to me.
Yeah.
All right. And so there's this grooming that can be taking place. And so the damaged relationship to the alienated parent is significant. And here's, the problem with that is, as you used the phrase before, you're dead to me. So if the spouses kind of say that, and the one spouse is trying to get the kid on their side, they actually have to get the kid to believe the same thing. No, your father's not just dead to me.
Yeah, he
He's
hasn't
dead
called
to
all
of
week
us.
long.
Yeah.
Or I don't know why dad won't, come and get you, or mom, why she doesn't care. Like when you use those kind of phrases, you're damaging that relationship. And sometimes they know that.
Right.
They know that, and they're doing that on purpose because they want to see that other person hurt.
Yep.
And we're just saying from a neutral place, you do more damage to the child.
Yep.
That feels like the rope. So let go of the rope and stop using them as a pawn.
Yeah, all kinds of things. You can impair your kids socially. You will impair them in their own relationship building down the road. You just really can mess with them, and don't use your kids in that way. If you have a beef with your spouse, you guys find your adult way to resolve it. But do not get into the business of bashing each other.
So I got two extremes of that, hun, where development is either impaired or interrupted. And one way is that one of the spouses is using that child as almost like a security blanket. Like they're lonely, they're fearful, so they literally cling to the child. And so this is when I have a mom who invites all the kids to sleep with them, okay? Because dad's not home anymore and they're alone. Okay, that impairs development. You're actually bringing more anxiety in on that child by making them feel loved and comforted by you, but it's really your own insecurities and your own fears that's creating that. And so you're impairing development. Or the other extreme we see is that that an 8-year-old does not need a phone. Okay. But man, because mom has said so or dad has said so, you are going like, hey, I'm buying you a phone.
Right.
Just because I want to be the popular one. I want to be the favorite one. And when you know that you're just kind of, you're just starting more troubles than need to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything from bad mouthing, restricting contact. I see this. I see we finally have arranged times, whether it's 50-50 or it's 80-20 or whatever the courts finally decided. And then you have these, oh, well, I have to schedule a doctor's appointment. It happens to be on your father's time, or, the one who, and it's like, why do you have to schedule? Well, I couldn't get into the doctor's office. And you start to basically push the other person out, and you come up with these really manipulating methods to do it.
So, for example, if you could do a give and take, like, hey, I know it's their birthday and it's on your week, but it's my birthday year. And so, hey, do you want another day?
Right.
That shows like, hey, I'm not trying to take something away from you. And if they don't want another day, fine. But you're offering that like, hey, it is the only time I could get that doctor's appointment, but that is your parenting day. So if you want to take them, fine. Or if you want me to take them and you want a different day, like that just shows the child like, hey, we're just going to kind of rise above the pettiness, above the conflict, and we're going to do what's best for the child. That's really a huge...
Hun, in a nutshell, is what you're saying there. One of the ways that we can tell that we have parents not behaving well is when they lack flexibility in
very
this
rigid
custody arrangement. And they use it to their benefit to strong arm the other, okay? And so if you lack flexibility, either one of you, right, and you're rigid, it really is more about you. It's more about you than about making this work. And again, the flexibility is a two-way street, right? And if one person's abusing it, then I can see where you have to lock down. But when we see lack of flexibility, we know right away, oh, I have two adults here that don't know how to behave well for the interest of the kids.
So parental alienation also looks like triangulating. So like you're pumping the child for information or you're trying to get them on your side. If you put that child in the middle of that triangle or in part of that triangle, then you're really setting them up for difficulties and problems down the road. So get them out of the conflict, get them out of the decision making. They're a child, and you two privately behind closed doors, you make the decision together. So we're hoping that we can help you come to some kind of compromise.
The triangulation, if you've watched the show Survivor, you know that quickly when people are feeling threatened, they build alliances. You have to get somebody on your side. And that's one thing when you're talking about adults, all right? But when you're trying to get a child on your side to overtake and push over the other, you have to really think about how sick that is in terms of using manipulating the child in that case. And so we're bringing that out not because we read it in a book, but because we see it.
Yeah.
We actually see it on a regular basis, and that alliance building with your child to basically, when I think of triangulation, I think of strangulation. We're trying, the two of us are getting together so we can strangle out the other person and we can choke them out.
And so the long-term repercussions of this is that your child grows up with an inability to resolve conflict in a healthy way. And they cut people out of their life, like we talked about before. They have trust issues because they don't really know who to believe, who to listen to, because you're kind of making them choose, okay? And so there's all kinds of mental health issues and trauma issues that can come. But so let's assume, Hun, that the person that's listening to this really does want to get better, but they have a very uncooperative spouse.
Right.
Okay. So what do you recommend for... because it does take two to work together. So what does that look like for the person who is listening, who wants to get better, who wants to keep their child in a healthy place? What do you recommend?
Well, so Ephesians 4:3 is really an important thing to rest on.
By the way, it's
here.
On your shirt today.
That's why I grabbed it. That's why I actually kept my shirt on. And it is, we talk about better together, right? And this is make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. And peace, the reason why peace is important is because it allows the logical mind to continue to work through and live life. The emotional mind does not problem solve well. It's very reactive. And so I want to have this unity so that we can keep the peace, because we have a very large task at hand. We're trying to raise a kid, and we've done it with 5 of them, and ain't none of them easy, right? You got to have the problem-solving brain working, and you got to keep the emotion as sidelined as you can.
And by the way, let's talk about that emotion for a second, because you said it. You show up with those emotions, right? And we react out of that hurt or fear or guilt or whatever. And sometimes our ex triggers an emotion that we've never dealt with. We've never healed right from our dad, from
Yep.
our ex, from our, our boyfriend, or from a parent, whatever. And so we're asking you to do your own work.
Yep.
To really start to look in the mirror and say, why am I so frustrated? Why is these two making me angry when I'm hearing this? Okay. There's something deeper there. Maybe there is some hurt. Maybe there is some unresolved trauma that you've not created. Like, you don't know my situation. And maybe it's not as extreme as it is in present, but there's some junk in your trunk that you never unpacked.
Yep.
That you drugged to the relationship with your ex, and that it just exasperated it. So let's do the healing, right? Let's take care of those emotions and where they're coming from.
Yeah. So that one of the initial things that we really have to do if we're going to get parents to co-parent is the very first thing we have to do. And this is a little bit contrary to how you might hear Linda and I talk. We always talk about hierarchy of relationships, and we talk about God, spouse, and child, right? And so when we have brokenness in the spouse relationship, the thing that we have to do in our work is, okay, you guys, you are what you are. If it's not working anymore, okay. But the next thing is the two of you have to come together and make the priority of the child's needs understood and met, okay? And so you have to elevate not like how important the child is, but what does the child actually need?
Yeah. Need, not want.
Yeah.
Because they're going to want different things than they need. And
Yeah.
so the research has shown that children of divorced parents who have a positive relationship with both parents tend to have a better emotional and social outcome. And so the research is saying, like, it's going to benefit the child if they get along with both parents.
Yeah. The second thing, hon, that we work on, and you can just, again, this is another way that we see, we still have parents who are working out of their hurt, all right? And again, we're not saying the hurt's not real. What we're saying is deal with your hurt, okay? But when we have communication breakdown. And so the second thing we really have to do is, guys, get a clear, concise method of communicating so that we are not confusing each other, right? And so if you're good enough, you can actually meet in person and talk well, great. If you can do it on the phone, okay? And keep it the business of the kids, right? Maybe you can't talk about the other things, but the business of the kids. I honestly, hon, I struggle with texting in these situations. If there's any hurt at all, I've seen text messages and I'm like,
Ooh, yeah.
oh, wow. Like there's tone all over that thing, right?
You can't read the tone, right? You
You're
don't really know.
You're pulling out, especially if
Yeah.
you're a hurt person, you're going to look to the negative of what it could be a totally neutral text.
So, but there's some people that would say, I can't speak in person with them. We don't ever talk. And it's like, okay, we're saying whatever you can get to that place of in a healthy manner. And so maybe it is when you're dropping off the kids, you speak what you're asking for. Like, hey, for example, this has just happened last week. Halloween was moved in a lot of communities. And let's maybe say your holiday this year is Halloween and it got moved to a different day.
Right.
And so it is like, hey, FYI, Halloween was moved because of the weather. And so I'm going to need him on Friday instead of Thursday. Okay. Is that okay? And like working together and then maybe confirm it in a text so that we're all on the same page. Like you didn't forget our conversation, right? You're just kind of confirming it in paper. But yeah, this is hard.
Yeah.
And don't use the kids. Don't use the kids like, hey, tell your dad, tell your mom.
Right.
Don't put them in the middle.
Yeah. If it is contentious, if we are still dealing with the hurt, then our courts in our area, and many of the courts do this, they recommend, or sometimes it's not recommended, it's enforced, it's court ordered, a tool, an app that all of the communication goes through this common app. And in our area, the one is called Our Family Wizard, okay?
It's expensive, though.
There's lots of different types out there. But that idea is the courts can see it anytime they want, right? And so we can see people are behaving badly with tone or words or accusations. You can see it. And so now we can say, is somebody in contempt of court here? Is somebody not being fair? And at the end of the day, we're not trying to catch people in trouble. We're just saying, will you just play well?
Yeah.
Just play well for the sake of your kids.
Yeah.
So if you feel like there's a lot of tension and things are getting, misconstrued, then I would talk to my attorney and say, hey, can we get some kind of neutral app or communication vehicle so that we don't have to deal with this anymore?
So if you mentioned contentious before, if it is contentious and they're not listening to you and they don't hear you and in your tone and your intentions that you want and mean to, then find a mediator. Find an outside source that you both can agree on, okay? And we've had this before where one spouse wants us, and then the one's like, oh, that's a ringer. They're in your court, blah, blah, blah. Okay, find somebody that you both can agree on that maybe neither one of you know, and have that person sit down with you as a mediator. And here's what we would ask you to do with this mediator, and this is what we do. What are the family values that you want for your children? What are the things you want when they grow up to be adults? What do you want that to look like? Do you want them to be hardworking? If you're going to be hardworking, then they're going to have chores and responsibilities. Do you want them to be respectful? Okay, there's going to have to be a consequence when they're not respectful, like in both houses. Yeah. So we want to really come together, and this is one of the first things we do and say, okay, what do you want for your children? And then when you agree on that, then you can work backwards on, okay, what is our rules going to be to follow those values?
So I like to say, confusion is the seed of anxiety. And in order to clear that up, to prevent it, I have to first state my destination. And so those are the values you're talking about. When we're 21 years old and our kid is leaving our home, where do we hope that we have them to? Okay. Yeah. And then the second part, and this is where it gets a little bit more grittier. Is that a right word? Grittier? More gritty is the idea that then what route are we going to use? And this is where you go, okay, if we want good work habits, that's maybe we both agreed, then, well, what will that look like in your house? What route are you going to choose? Well, in my house, I'm going to have them feed the dog and make their bed or whatever. Okay, so in my house, here's what it'll look like. Yeah. So there can be different routes taken, right? And it's not a matter of like who's got the right route. It's like, are we both teaching what we say is important so that when our kid is an adult, they'll have that tool?
Okay, so let's just be the devil's advocate and say, I can't get my spouse to sit down at X and to have that conversation. Yeah. Okay, then you, as much as it's in your control, you invite them into that process and say, I'm hearing this podcast and I'm hearing this is important. I would love to do this with you.
Right.
And if they say, forget it, F you do whatever you want, I'm not doing that. Okay, then you sit down, whether it be with you and a mediator, a counselor, a coach, us, whatever, or maybe you have a boyfriend, or maybe you have a spouse that you have, maybe you're a blended family. And so you sit down and decide, okay, in our home, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
And then if they're like, what do you think you're doing? You're not allowed to do this. Like, we invited you to the table.
Right.
We wanted to work with you. If you're willing to work, but we're not going to just play this game anymore. We're not going to throw our kids into this confusion. We're going to have some guardrails because kids feel safe with guardrails.
Right.
They need boundaries to know what I can do and what I can't do. Why do I do what I do? They need to know.
Yeah, but I'm right on board with you, but I'll
play devil's advocate
push
again.
back as devil advocate. And so here's what we know does happen is that one home says, okay, in our home, we're going to have these boundaries and these expectations. And the other one's loosey-goosey, whatever they want.
Yeah.
And then any normal kid is going to be like, I like loosey-goosey, right?
You're right.
And so this, guys, is the parental alienation process, right? This is one of those things where you're like, well, she can make her kids go to bed at 9 o'clock, but listen, you're not going to do that in my house. Listen, all we're telling you is you're not helping your kids.
No.
You're not helping them.
You create anxiety, depression, anger, confusion, chaos, trauma. Like, they don't know how to deal with that. And your kids are the ones that suffer. Man, you can stick it to your ex and be the favorite parent, but you're going to hurt your child.
Yeah. It's guys, it's like this. It's like, I want to speak the same language no matter what home I'm in.
Yeah.
Because when I speak one language in one home and one in another, I cause confusion. All right. And so that confusion, the kid's going to go to the easiest place to understand from their mindset.
Their child mindset.
Their child mindset. And I'm not going to blame the kid for choosing a route that seems to fit better, right? But that is on me as a parent to say, this is why we talk about establish your destination in terms of what do I want my kid to be like when they're this age. And if what you're doing is not creating those values, then again, I will say this, hon, if you say, well, if the kids are in my house, they're in bed at 7:30, and the other one's like, well, I think 9:30 is fine. The compromise is where we go then, all right? Well, but I think they should be in bed at 7. Listen, you're better off to go to 8:15 and keep the same language in each house.
Yeah.
You will all win versus you sticking your heels in and saying, no matter what in my house it's 7:30 and no matter what in my house it's 9:30. This is where the compromise comes in because you will all win going down the road.
And keep the main thing the main thing. It used to be one of our elders at our church used to say that. Like, it really comes down to what is the healthiest thing for the child.
Right.
Is it really matter if it's 7:30 or 8:30? Okay. The key is it moral? Is it valuable for them? Is it healthy for them? And so we're looking for that place where you guys can agree on. Okay. And so, for instance, if you think a child should get a phone at 10 and I'm digging my heels in and said, not till 16, well, you could be the bad guy and have the phone over here at dad's at age 10, or maybe you guys can find, okay, I think it needs to be a little later. I think it needs to be a little earlier. And maybe you arrive at 13, right? Somewhere in there where the child feels, wow, mom and dad are united. This is such a healthy thing if you can show that for that child, because long term that's going to benefit them.
Yeah. Guys, we cannot emphasize what we're talking about enough. And if you are in this situation, please, if you have to get help, get help, okay? Get help. Stop using this whole tug of war, as you mentioned earlier, hon, with your kids as the rope in the middle. Because eventually they will fray and you will split them, all right? And it won't be healthy, all right? So get some help, whether you contact us or somebody else, get somebody to help you mediate to get through this.
And by the way, this isn't just a divorce situation. We've got parents who are married, they live in the same home, but they are on totally different pages when it comes to co-parenting. And so it feels like they're just roommates or divorced already. And sometimes it's what causes the divorce.
Right, yeah.
And so you're better off being on the preventative side and getting help for that and finding common ground like we're talking about today, so that the kids don't divide you and destroy your family. And so we're asking you, yes, prioritize the needs of the children in a divorce situation. But man, if you're still married, let's put God up there at number one and then each other. Okay. It's about you two working together as husband and wife so that the children see a safe, stable environment.
Yeah. The very last thing that I want to just add to this is when it is contentious between the two exes, you're working, the contention is based off of everything that happened in the past.
Yes.
Okay. Our job is to be forward thinking. All right. And that means terms like forgiveness and terms like grace, all of these things that we've talked about so many times. But the idea here is I need to focus on the future. What happened. All right. But I got to focus on the future because I'm trying to get my kids to this place, whatever that place is, like when they become adults and they leave. And so we really want to be forward thinking, future thinking in terms of how we're going to parent.
Okay. So I want to bring that up because we talk about that in our class, Families Rock. Is that if you sit there and wallow in the betrayal, the neglect, whatever your spouse didn't do for you, maybe lied to you, maybe cheated. I'm using he because I'm a female, but she cheated on you, she stole your money, whatever it is. Like, if you sit there and stay the victim, you teach your kids to be the victim. Woe is me. It's not my fault. Poor me. And so you're so correct, hon. Like, let's stop wallowing in the past. Let's heal and move on and learn and grow and show our kids how to live a life that honors the Lord, that is healthy in relationships, that knows how to resolve conflict. That's one of the greatest gifts you can give them.
If you're still angry and hurt at your ex, that is a sign that you still need help.
Yes, you need healing.
Okay, you need healing. And if you hold on to that, then you are going to negatively impact other relationships, your kids and parenting. And so that is your sign, I still get half sick when I think about them. That is your sign that you haven't done your work yet.
Yeah.
All right. And go to work. Like you will be a better person moving forward when you finally start to settle in with, I've let this go.
Yeah.
All right.
I've actually had, because I work with all the women that are feeling wronged or betrayed, and they'll come in and they're mad at him.
Right.
Because it's like, why do I have to do the work? He's the one that did it. Okay. Well, you're the one that's stuck. And you're the one that's spitting rocks, and you're the one that's the victim, and you're the one that's holding on to unforgiveness, and it's eating you up. That's why you go to work. That's why you do your work part, because that's going to set you free. And then your ex no longer has any hold on you, has any control over your emotions. You take control back over your emotions. That's what we want for you. Whether you're a male or a female, we want you to have freedom in Christ. We want you to have healthy relationships. We want you to have healthy co-parenting and show your kids how to resolve conflict and be able to move forward.
Guys, this is a show that if it made sense to you, great. But I promise you, somebody's in your head that is this show's reminding you of. Please share it with them.
Yes.
All right. Please share it with them. Prompt them. Say, hey, I listened to this. Like maybe something here will stick with you. Okay. Help them get through this, because this is really not just for them, but it is for that next generation called their kids.
By the way, don't point then and say, you need to listen to this. I want you to say, I felt convicted. Right. I know I needed this, and maybe it will help you. So the Bible says to stop looking at the speck in your partner's eye when there's a gigantic plank in your own eye. Let's work on the plank first. And that's the work we got to do.
All right, guys, we want to thank you guys for listening and just being part of our audience and continuing to share shows and give us our ratings and all those great things. We got to thank our sponsors again. We want to thank Maxwell Construction, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and the Hoosier Ice House. If there is something we can help you with in this regard, we would like to keep it out of the courts.
We would,
right?
yes.
We love it when it's not court ordered, because that means we haven't seen too much damage yet. And so give us a call at 812-576-7625. You can check out what we're doing on our webpage, rocksolidfamilies.org. And I think that's about all I got.
Yeah, so thank you so much for listening. We know this is a very hard topic. We want to speak into it. We want to breathe life into your family, your life, help you to heal. So thank you so much for listening to the Rock Solid Families podcast, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day.
Rock Solid Families wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. Casey's has grown to be one of the largest and most unique garden centers and gift shops in the Cincinnati tri-state area. Whether you are looking to take on that next landscape project or simply add a little home decor to your house, Casey's has you covered. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Call them today at 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home. Rock Solid Families wants to thank Maxwell Construction for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. For over 30 years, Maxwell Construction has been a leader in turning dreams into realities, building schools, banks, restaurants, and many other commercial and public facilities. Maxwell Construction has made it their priority to not just build buildings, but to build into their community. So if you have any construction needs, call them at 812-537-2200.
Rock Solid Families would like to thank Hoosier Ice House for being a proud sponsor of the Rock Solid Families podcast. In the heart of historic Lawrenceburg, Indiana, the Ice House is at the corner of Vine and High Streets. The historic building evokes a feeling of comfort with spacious indoor and outdoor dining, a large bar, and comfortable dining areas. large enough to host parties, yet intimate enough to feel like your favorite neighborhood restaurant. So thank you again for the Hoosier Ice House for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast.